and significant contributions to the Eisenhower Fellowship's global network. Tonight, we honor two exceptional fellows who come to us from Vietnam, a former American enemy in war, now home to one of the most robust and dynamic chapters of Eisenhower Fellows. Tonight's honorees are prominent leaders deeply dedicated to Eisenhower Fellowships who've distinguished themselves through their professional achievements, their lives of public service, and their leadership within the EF global community. Tin Hu Mai is a successful private business leader, twice elected to the National Assembly despite belonging to no political party, deeply engaged with Eisenhower Fellows around the world. His father was an officer in the defeated South Vietnamese army who was arrested and sent to a re-education camp after the fall of Saigon ended the war with the U.S. in April 1975. Tin was a boy then. His family was split up, but he grew up to be an extraordinary leader whose company's investments have helped employ hundreds of his compatriots. Like Tin, Thao Nguyen Griffiths has made it her life's mission to give back to her nation while building bridges of understanding to the United States and to other countries in the region. Thao is the public policy head for MEDA in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar. She rose to national and international prominence as the country director for the Vietnam Veterans of America Foundation, an American NGO, where she focused on the deadly issue of unexploded landmines and people-to-people diplomacy between her nation and the United States. You might remember seeing Thao on TV, sharing a meal with the late Anthony Bourdain, who met with her on one of his visits to Vietnam. And later, she met President Obama on his trip to Vietnam. As the first two heads of EF's fabulous fellow chapters in Vietnam, Tin and Thao have built a formidable foundation for EF's work in Vietnam, recruiting and sending to the U.S. consistently outstanding fellows. I'd like to call up to the podium Tin and Thao and Eisenhower Fellowship's chairman, former U.S. Secretary of Defense Robert Gates, for the presentation of the 2024 Distinguished Fellow Award.
So it gives me great pleasure to honor two exceptional Eisenhower Fellows tonight. Tin Hu Mai and Thao Nguyen Griffiths are deeply engaged, professionally successful Eisenhower Fellows whose inspired leadership has helped make the Vietnam chapter of Fellows one of the most robust and dynamic in the entire EF global network. As the first chapter head of the new EF group in Hanoi, after their fellowship travels to the U.S. in 2013, Tin set high standards for extensive engagement within the Eisenhower Fellowships network and for ensuring that Vietnamese fellows were of the highest quality. Twice elected a member of Vietnam's National Assembly, despite not belonging to any political party, Tin has earned widespread admiration for his success as a national legislator and private businessman. Passionate about ensuring that public policy strengthen the private sector, Tin currently serves as deputy head of the Private Sector Development Committee under the Prime Minister of Vietnam. As chairman and chief executive officer of UNI Investment Corporation, Tin heads one of Vietnam's leading investment companies, employing hundreds of people with investments in logistics, construction and property development, organic farming, furniture manufacturing, financial services, retail, hospitality, and technology. Thao succeeded Ten as head of Vietnam's EF country chapter in 2020 and built further upon the strong foundation he left behind. She joined Meta in 2021 as a public policy head for Vietnam. Her portfolio now includes Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar. Prior to joining Meta, Thao worked at the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry and served for 9 years as country director for the Vietnam Veterans of America Foundation. She worked in both their Hanoi and Washington offices, focusing on the deadly issue of unexploded landmines devastating the countryside, as well as development issues and people-to-people diplomacy between the U.S. and Vietnam. Reflecting the many sensitive, high-level contacts Thao has maintained for years on Capitol Hill. Last year, the Office of the President Pro Tem of the Senate sent a statement of congratulations to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Vietnam and to the United States Department of State. A former Fulbright scholars, Thao and a group of Vietnamese expatriates subsequently were recognized by the President of Vietnam for their contributions to Vietnam and its diaspora. As members of the Eisenhower Fellowship's Global Network Council, Ten and Thao have traveled regularly to attend EF gatherings in Bangkok, Miami, New York, Philadelphia, and San Francisco. At home, they organized productive high-level meetings with senior government officials for visiting EF trustees and for George and Carrie when they were in Vietnam. Given the tragic history between the United States and Vietnam, being able to honor Ten and Thao is especially moving to me. This recognition is in keeping with the ethos and work of Eisenhower Fellowships that has helped bring our two countries' former enemies together. For their dedication and exemplary engagement within Eisenhower Fellowships, their exceptional leadership of the Vietnamese chapter of Fellows, and their outstanding professional accomplishments, I am proud to present Ten Hu Mai and Thao Nguyen Griffiths the 2024 Distinguished Fellow Award.
Good evening, everyone. I was still moved. Actually, I'm still moved by the speech of Oscar earlier. And as a businessman, I did some quick calculations. I started to ship my first box of cashew nuts to the US in 1998. And in 2013, I got my fellowship. It took us 15 years to do so. He started in 2021. He's here today, 3 years. We are making a lot of progress. Well, thank you, Thao, for a wonderful acceptance speech, and she speaks for me too. When she and I arrived in the US in September 2013 to start our fellowship, little did I know that the fellowship would change my life forever. In this very place of the US, National Constitution Center, I had the chance of a lifetime to study in depth the birth of and the philosophy behind the US Constitution. When I returned to Vietnam after the fellowship, as a member of the National Assembly at that time, I cast the most important vote of my life so far, to amend the constitution of my own country. Can you believe it or not? And one of the key points of that amended constitution is to create more space for the private sector in our economy. Wonderful. The idea of a world more peaceful, prosperous, and just, however, he stayed with me ever since, pushing me to work harder every day for my fellow Vietnamese, for fellow human beings. And so in August 2017, after 2 terms as a non-party member of the National Assembly of Vietnam, I took on the job of President of the World Vô Vietnam Federation, the global organization of Vietnamese martial arts. A disciple of that school of martial arts myself from a very young age, I understand how the practice of that school of martial arts can influence a person's life in a very, very positive way. And so, in the same spirit of a world more peaceful, prosperous, and just, I used the resources of my family foundation to grow the federation. Today, it's the biggest international body originated from Vietnam, with more than 2 million practitioners in more than 70 countries. Well, I have come a long way, and I have enjoyed so much. I think I have a duty to pay back and pay forward. The Eisenhower Fellowship that we share together in this space gives me always special feelings whenever I meet any of you, whether in Vietnam, here, or anywhere else in the world. And I can only say that every day that I live, I keep myself that reminder that as a part of this wonderful organization, it's my job and my duty to make sure that for the rest of my life, for every day that I can survive and work, I will make sure that I will make Eisenhower Fellowships. I will make sure that all my fellow brothers and sisters in this wonderful organization we call home proud. Thank you very much.